Hello everybody, John here with Shooting Tips and Tricks, and today I'm down here at the range with my Marlin Model 39 and 22 long rifle. This is a rifle I picked up a little while back here. It's a great little shooting gun, and according to some, one of the most iconic lever action 22s or 22 in general in history. It was made famous by Annie Oakley. She used the original version of this one in a lot of her little shooting exhibitions. Today we're going to put a few targets downrange. Oh. Got a little hang up in this guy. This is one I noticed with this one I was shooting earlier, is I think the extractor is a little bit weak from sitting around not shooting, and every now and then it doesn't quite kick the shell out as far as it should. Oh, just like that. Oh, look at that, it stood that guy right up right inside there. Yeah, well, that's about it. That's one nice thing about these old tube-fed guns is, well, one, they'll shoot shorts, longs, and long rifles. And with this guy, with a 24-inch barrel, it holds, I think, 19 in the tube. So if you had one in the chamber, then it'd hold full 20 rounds. And luckily, these tube-fed rimfires don't fall under the high capacity ban over here in California, so you're perfectly fine using them. Alright, well, we'll head back inside and we'll pull this guy apart and take a little closer look. Alright, here we are back in the shop, and we're going to be taking a closer look at our little Marlin here. Now, this guy had a couple of issues when I first picked him up. The main one being the extractor on there. It's not wanting to kick the shells out, which from the looks of it I'm going to probably have to replace that piece. It's probably all worn out. And then had a little crack in the stock that I fixed, no big deal. And then the sights on it, it didn't come with the rear riser, so you can see this ugly little thing. It's just a piece of metal that I took a file to make a little makeshift riser. If you notice how high it's jacked up on there, well, that's because the front sight here, the base is the original, but the post on top of that isn't the original. It's about twice the height of the factory one, so as such I had to raise the rear sight up just to get on target. Now, I'm not sure why they did that. Either they didn't have a original one to put on there, or they're trying to get some extra clearance over the scope base here or something. I'm not sure. But other than that, it's a great little gun. Shoots really nice. These old guys, I never was particular about exterior finish. With me, it's mostly mechanical. And lever actions, you always want a nice tight lever. You can see this guy. There's no slop right there in the lever at all. So it's a good and functioning one, even though it doesn't look all that pretty on the outside. Alright, now we'll dig into this guy and take a little closer look. Now these guys, since it's one of the more later ones, it's a takedown model, indicative of the screw right here. And the receiver is actually a two-piece, side-to-side two-piece, not endwise. And I got this guy just finger tightened down there. So let's undo that guy. We can bring it up. And we can just leave it just like that for now. Open up the action. And then you should be able to wiggle the two halves apart. And there it goes. Usually it takes a little bit of finagling, but that one came right apart. There's the bolt, and then you have your firing pin right there. Got all kinds of slots and cuts in that guy, and you can see the extractor up on here is this big hook piece of metal that tracks all the way back in here. And the problem that you run into with these guys is people will let the gun sit with the action closed. Well, when the action is closed, the extractor is bent out just a hair bit like so, because it's resting against the barrel. And if it sits like that for a long time, it'll eventually just settle in that position and it won't spring back in as far as it should. And a lot of these old ones aren't made with the same kind of spring steel as newer stuff, so they're more inclined to wear out. Yeah. Then we have one half of the gun. There's our little ejector that knocks the shells out of the way. And it's got a little brass fitting all around it. So a nice touch there. And there's a little metal bar that sits behind that holds it in, or holds the tension against it. And it's held in place by these two screws here on the opposite side. Then below that we have our little piece here that holds the shells in place to control the feed rate. And that's basically when the action closes, it hits this little hump here, pushes it in, and that allows another shell to seat into place on top of the riser. And then we'll get into the other half. Oh, turn around here. You can see on this half we have our riser here, and then the lever mechanism. It's a pretty simple mechanics. You have the large riser. There's a little ball on the end here that the lever will actuate against, like so, to settle it into place. And then you have the little spring piece on the back here, and then you have our hammer in the far back. Now these old guys didn't have a safety on them. What they had was, like they put on the revolvers, the half cock position. So if you look at the hammer, it has two notches there. That deep one on the top is what's called the half cock. So if you pull our trigger back and settle in, you can see it sets deep into that groove, and from there you can't pull the trigger at all. And the hammer's not going to fall, and it's not going to move. The only direction it can go is back into the cock position. So that was their safety at the time, rather than having this stuff they have now. Alright. And that's just about everything. They're pretty simple guns. And then back in the stock here you have the spring that there's a bar that connects the upper and lower tang that goes across, and then there's a spring that actuates into the hammer. But I'm not going to dig into that because the stock's is a rather close fit. and I don't want to take a chance of cracking this again and having to repair it. Alright, now we'll stick this guy back together here. Set that guy in place, and we'll just set the bolt into the open position there. And I'll set this guy in, and I always set him in front first, like so. And then we'll see if we can hold that bolt in place there. So pull the hammer down so it clears the bolt. Normally these snap right back together, but since there's a camera on, it's going to be a royal pain. I just need to get that right position in there. Come on, what's going on here? Oh, hold on. Yeah, I think that was the problem the whole time. The bolt was just back a little too far. It's just about together, but it's got a little bit left to go. Come on. That bolt wasn't quite in the perfect position for it to set back in. Alright. There it is. There you go. Alright, well, I think that's about it for this video. Oh, before I end it, one thing I will touch on is, if you're curious about the date with these, they've got a clue in the serial number. It's always in the first letter, and over the years they've put the serial numbers in different positions. As you can see on this one, it's on the bottom tang, and I believe some of them they put it up front here on the receiver, and others they put it on the side of the receiver here. And this one, you see the first letter on the serial number is a V. Well, that indicates that this one was made in, I believe it was 1962. And then the older ones will be higher up on the alphabet. I think B I seen once was 1950 or 51. And then later on they went to double letters like AA, BB, and then they went to a double number system, I think like a 01 or something like that. But if you do a quick search online, it'll bring up multiple websites that'll give you dating information. Alright, well, like I said, I think that's about it for this video. And as always, if you liked it, there's a button down there. If you didn't like it, well, there's a button down there. Anything you want to add, let me know in the comments. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.